Governors from across the country heading to Washington, D.C., including Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, to sit down with President Joe Biden after last week's alarming, what is being characterized as a devastating night for the incumbent president in a debate against former President Donald Trump. It is Illinois in Focus Daily with America's Talking Network. I'm Greg Bishop. Thank you for being with us. Like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Obviously, the questions about the former president versus President Joe Biden in the debates where Biden had trouble finishing sentences and answering questions. But then the next day goes out and stands in front of a crowd for 20 minutes reading off a teleprompter and looked lively. And whether or not there's going to be more similar types of incidents, raising a substantial question. This is from yesterday at the White House press briefing with Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre answering questions about the president's mental cognition, answering questions about how the White House is planning on, quote, turning the page on that. So obviously some interesting questions about the president's mental cognition coming to surface with 50 minutes worth of Karine Jean-Pierre yesterday fielding question after question after question about not just the president's mental cognition. Apparently Hunter Biden, his son, who was recently convicted of a gun charge, is reportedly in some high-level meetings. So that's raising questions about what's happening there. Those reports obviously within, sourcing from within the White House, being reported by other outlets. But the questions persist. And even this question posed to Karine Jean-Pierre yesterday.
I'm going to ask something delicate, and you may not like it. The president may not like to hear it if he's watching, but I think the American people need to get a yes or no answer on this. Does President Biden, at 81 years old, have Alzheimer's, any form of dementia, or degenerative illness that would cause these sorts of lapses? And it's a yes or no question. And if you don't know, why don't you, as one of his senior staff members, know?
I have an answer for you. Are you ready for it?
Yes.
It's a no. And I hope you're asking the other guy the same exact question.
So that just is a small sampling of the back and forth that Karine Jean-Pierre had yesterday with members of the White House press corps. Governor J.B. Pritzker, he, after the debate, didn't name Biden, but said it's a stark contrast between a convicted felon being Donald Trump and the current administration. But apparently earlier this week, there was a phone call of Democratic governors who were asking questions amongst themselves. And now there's going to be a meeting at the White House today with Democratic governors, including Governor J.B. Pritzker. The governor was on CNN last night where he addressed what he wants to see in the conversation with President Joe Biden and what he wants to see Biden do more of.
Yeah, I think it's important for the president to talk to not just the leaders of the Democratic Party across the board, but generally the nation. And so I'd like to hear more from him, and I think that he intends to do more of that.
So the governor, again, in an interview with CNN, being asked what he wants to see. They talked about the governors having a phone call earlier this week, and now there's going to be this meeting face-to-face with the Democratic governors and President Joe Biden.
It was all, fairly positive conversation. People expressing themselves and of course, talking about, what they'd like to hear from the president, what they think the strategy ought to be going forward. And I think everybody wanted to be able to express that to the president directly. And that's why Governor Walz, who heads the Democratic Governors Association, asked for the opportunity, and the president was readily willing to do it.
So you've got Caitlin Collins from CNN asking these questions of Governor Pritzker, but that governor's meeting, previewing what to expect for this coming up meeting.
There's a healthy discussion going on within the Democratic Party. We're not a cult like the MAGA Republicans. We tolerate dissent, and we think it's good for democracy to have this conversation. And for me anyway, my word is my bond. I honor my commitments. Joe Biden is going to be our nominee unless he decides otherwise. And so I think that there's a healthy conversation that will happen with the president, I hope, expressing what he intends to do going forward in the campaign and reassuring everybody that this is the right course to make sure that we stay the course with him.
So we'll be monitoring what kind of public statements are made in this meeting. Will there be cameras that come in and see them all sitting around a desk? Will there be a news conference afterwards? We'll be watching that closely. But Pritzker was asked by CNN last night what he's hearing from other governors. Are other governors expressing what some other Democrats behind the scenes, and even one at least publicly, that the president needs to step aside?
They certainly were concerned about the debate performance, but they just want to make sure that this is the right direction and that the president reassures them. I have not heard any of the governors express that, he's not the right guy. It's just that I think there are questions that got raised by that debate. And hopefully that's just a one-off situation that the president can rectify by letting everybody know, once again, all the great things that he's done for working families across America.
And Pritzker, again, having these questions, reiterating what he wants to see President Joe Biden do to alleviate those concerns. That's not just from Democrat insiders being reported, but from the American public, with polling showing that people are worried about President Biden's age.
I'd like to see more. There's no doubt about it. I think that more calls should be made to people, more public appearances, more opportunity for reporters to see him and hear him. He's one of the most experienced people that's ever held the job. And he needs to remind people of that. And the only way to do that is to get out there, answer questions, and communicate to everyone.
And again, Governor Pritzker on CNN last night with those comments. The president does have an ABC interview he's going to do with George Stephanopoulos Friday. He's also got a couple of other events he's going to be attending and doing a stand-up press conference sometime next week whenever members of NATO end up coming into Washington, D.C. for a meeting. It's the 75th anniversary of NATO. So will that be enough? How is he going to perform there? Will it alleviate the concerns that have been widely reported by media across the political spectrum? We'll be watching that. Of course, with the Democratic National Convention up in Chicago, likely the center square is there on the ground covering. We do have plans in place to be at the Republican National Convention to cover that as well. So be sure to go to thecentersquare.com, subscribe to the newsletter, and subscribe, hit that notification bell with America's Talking Network, and stay up to date as we keep you posted on what's going on with the political campaigns heading into November. All right, Illinois in Focus Daily. Subscribe, hit that notification bell with America's Talking Network. Subscribe to the newsletter at thecentersquare.com. Again, we'll be at the Republican National Convention, likely as plans continue to surface for the Democratic National Convention. We've got press credentials there as well. So again, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and join us each and every weekday morning for Illinois in Focus Daily.